Hey everybody, it's Katie from Bobby Hair Studio. Thanks for joining me again today. Today I have this client who has mostly natural hair. She has a few baby lights from a previous stylist, but we're going to make her super hella blonde today in one sitting. That's what we're gonna do. So if you wanna see what I'm gonna do, stick around. My Lightener formula today is actually pretty interesting. I'm using Schwarzkopf Blondme and Clay Blondme and 20 volume. And I'm using a 1-to-1 ratio of the Blondmes, but I'm using a little bit more of the developer just to kind of make it a thick Greek yogurt type of consistency. Now I'm just gonna preface this, I don't think it's actually recommended on the label to mix lighteners, but I do this so that I get the clay type of consistency I wanna use for all of my hand painting techniques, and I also get the lift that I want from the Blondme 9-level regular powder lightener. So there is a lot to unpack for this episode. I don't even know what to call these. For this video today, and I just kind of want to go over how I'm doing my hand painting, because hand painting can look super messy and unplanned, but I can tell you that this balayage was extremely planned out and it turned out exactly how me and the client wanted it to be. So when you're hand painting, if you have no experience with it, please pay attention to what it is that I'm doing with all of my hand painting here. I'm going to show you a lot of different examples of different ways to hand paint so that you can get a dimensional but still full blonde coverage look. The first thing to take note of is that I am hand painting every single hair on this client's head. I am making sure that the ends of every hair have been lightened to a level 9 blonde. So that does mean that I am doing a lot of weaving and I'm doing a lot of back combing, but every single hair is blonde at the ends because my client wants that really, really solid ombre look at the ends, going up into a really, really soft dimensional balayage near the top. But she still wants a ton of blonde coverage. I am using a paddle and I'm using the Big Daddy brush by Framar to give me my best hand painting technique. I wouldn't recommend using a root brush for this, only something that's like a power painter, like this one from Framar. I separate a lot of my sections in different kinds of ways, and I use different types of backcombing techniques and weaving techniques and painting techniques in this video. And in this section right here, I want to create a lot of depth near the root. So I've actually taken a very thick, large piece and I've backcombed high up into the root. And then I've only painted up 3/4 of the way up into the hair. Now it looks like this is going to be a super, super blonde piece. Trust me, it's not. With how large I'm taking my section, there's actually more hair being pushed up towards the root and away from the lightener than there is hair that's going to be in the lightener. So that piece that I just showed you was going to be a bit of a darker piece. And this piece that I'm putting right up on top here has some little foils that I'm painting up a lot higher to create that depth and dimension, creating these little highlights that go right to the top of the hair. Now, to give this dimension some extra pop, I've taken a wide weave or a large weave piece and I am painting up quite high, basically as high as I can go while still maintaining a soft blend. And this will create some really gorgeous blonde pops. So here again, I have this massive piece of hair. I've done a lot of back combing from the bottom of the hair and I'm painting up all of the ends. Now, this looks like a huge chunk of blonde, but it actually really isn't. It's one of the smaller pieces because so much of the hair has been pushed to the top, where it means that it's actually not gonna get lightened at all. And once it's combed down, it's gonna really soften this look up. This is one of my favorite types of techniques for getting a lot of dimension in the hair, because the section on top of it, I split into 2 halves by weaving, and I try to make the bottom half more skinny weaves and the top half more large weaves. The skinny weaves, I'm going to only backcomb a little bit and paint up as high as I can to create these little soft baby lights that just like to sit on top of that area that has a lot of that depth and shadow in her natural color. And then, of course, as you saw earlier, these larger sections, which create that nice pop of blonde. So it's a nice trifecta of getting dimension and tons of blonding all at once. So that was one of my methods that I used, and now this one I'm going to show you how I hand paint to create some depth within each section. So this area I'm hand painting to be more highlighted up at the front, creating a money piece, and with a bit of a drop near the base towards the ear. And this creates just some depth and dimension around the ear area while maintaining brightness in the front. This piece looks a little bit more like a weave, and it is, and I'm going to be using my brush very gently to sweep up towards the top and rub away any of the lightener that I don't want in any areas to cause spotting, which is going to cause these soft little teeny baby lights that give her a beautiful blend, which is just as important as larger foils to give it a pop. It's also very important to note that with every single one of my hand-painted foils, I am checking underneath to make sure that the underneath side has been well blended just as well as on top, because you will notice little spotting if you don't check the underneath. My favorite foiling to do actually is around the face, because I can get really close to the root without having to do much back combing, if any at all, because the hair is actually more finely dispersed around the face and the temple area. However, if you aren't back combing, then you're not creating depth. So if you are going to be doing any hand painting without back combing, then you should keep in mind how high up you're painting on each of your sections, because the back combing creates depth and blend, and you have to be really good at your hand painting in order to not need back combing. And I'm not saying I'm that good at hand painting. I'm really good at root smudging as well, which is what I'm gonna do on my client. But, you know, keep in mind the depth and dimension that's going to be everywhere. I know I'm saying that a lot, but you don't actually get to see the full product until it's done. And if you've created too much blonde in your client's hair, then you have to go in and put low lights in. So just be aware as to how much you're putting in there. For my top mohawk section, I'm going to be doing a little bit different foiling. I'm going to be using a pattern in 3s like I did with the back and the sides. But with this one, I'm going to be going by the size and the amount of back combing I'm doing and how high up I'm painting. So my first section is going to be a thick section where I back comb from the base of the hair, creating a lot of that natural depth, and I'm going to be painting up pretty high, but not all the way. And then my second section right here, I am taking a medium-sized section, back combing from the middle of the hair and painting up pretty high. And then for this last section, I'm taking a skinny section, back combing up from just the top, and I am painting up as high as I possibly can go. This is going to create that kind of leveling of her root, and it's going to give me a lot of softness, especially because I have that teeny tiny piece that is highlighted all the way up to the top. It's actually going to be a lot less noticeable than you would think by having a large, darker piece behind it. That's going to create some really soft rootage, and it's not going to look like almost like a heartbeat monitor where it goes really high and then really low. You're not actually going to see that in the hair. It actually just looks like really pretty foils with a lot of dimension. You'll see what I mean in a minute. This is what 2 hours of foiling looks like. There's her mohawk and all of her other subsections that I made. And we are bringing her into the sink now. This, I'm just gonna let you know, this whole thing when I'm pulling out the foils looks crazy, crazy blonde. And then you're gonna see me detangle her a little bit. And I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about how I detangle any of my back comb sections. It's gonna look like too much blonde until I detangle her. So just be prepared for that. So unfortunately my camera did die when I was finishing up her foiling. I was doing her money piece around the front. I actually just did regular foils there. I still used my regular bleach formulation that I used for everything else, but I didn't do any back combing. I just did a standard money piece that I like to do. When you detangle your own back combing, you have to make sure that you're detangling in the exact same elevation that you back combed in, and then you can detangle further. But I'm holding all these pieces up because I held them upwards when I was back combing them. And you're gonna see how pretty this blend actually is, even before I do my root shadow, because of all of that back combing. This is what the color application looks like even before I've done a root shadow and before I've done a toner. So honestly, in my opinion, I feel like this is a really dimensional, beautiful blend, and I'm very happy with it. I'm gonna be doing this method a whole lot more. It's my favorite. Now it's time for a root shadow. I use Schwarzkopf Vibrance 8.0, 7.4, and 7.1, and 6 volume. I wanted to create a balance between warm and cool and natural for her root color because I didn't want it to look too far on any end of the spectrum. I just wanted it to blend in with her natural color but be like half a level lighter, just to create that really soft blend into her foils that are already well blended. As for her toner formula, I'm using TBH 10-51 and 6 volume from the Vibrance line. And it's one of my favorite toners because it allows my guest to still be really warm blonde, but have enough control in it to cool down any brassiness. So if you're looking for a golden blonde, TBH 10-51 and 6 volume will get you a beautiful, warm golden blonde without being brassy. Although it's a trust the process toner because it looks pink when it's processing, it actually looks terrifying when it's processing. I promise when it's rinsed out, it's beautiful. I told you so. Look at how beautifully blended that is, and her hair is straight. So when she wants it to be more blonde, she wears it straight. When she wants it more dimensional, she wears it curly because you can see all of those little pops of her low light natural color and the pops of her beautiful highlights. I'm honestly so proud of this work because honestly, I want this on my own head. I don't know about you. My client was so happy. She's like, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted this much blonde. I wanted this much of my root. I am so happy with it. And I mean, look at that. I'm really proud of this. Sorry, had to say it again, but I am. I hope you guys really like this tutorial. I hope you guys find a way to use this in the future for you hairstylists. And for anybody who wants their hair to look like this, I mean, come on, just book at a Bobby Hair Studio and we'll do this for you. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Leave a comment below and follow our socials. Have a great day.